The federal government says it's in close contact with Australia's major airlines amid reports China has told oil refiners to halt all fuel exports. Political reporter Stephanie Boris has more from Parliament House.
A lot of questions around fuel in general in Australia given the war in the Middle East. Particularly we've heard about people in regional areas not being able to get fuel at their local petrol stations. We've heard from farmers directly not being able to get the diesel they need to run their tractors. So the other side of the equation is fuel needed for our airlines that fly not just across Australia but across the world. And some concerns have been raised amid reports that China has ordered oil refineries to halt exports. Now, Australia heavily relies on jet fuel from overseas. It's not made here in Australia. At this point in time, there's no issues, Jade. There is enough jet fuel, but there is a little bit of unease within industry about what happens long term if this war does continue or does escalate. So we heard from Energy Minister Chris Bowen today. He says that he's been in contact with the major airlines, being Qantas and Virgin, since last week. At the moment, everything looks okay, and that's why there's been no release of jet fuel supplies from the stockpile that Australia does have in times of essentially emergencies. So it's there to be used when necessary, but at the moment, Chris Bowen says that's not needed.
At that point, I spoke to Vanessa Hudson, the CEO of Qantas. Catherine King's been talking to Virgin. We've been working closely with them. They have fuel on hand for the immediate and foreseeable future, but obviously any impacts from global supply will be something that we very carefully monitor and work with the two big airlines in particular, but all our airlines, including the smaller ones, to make sure we are as well placed as possible. We're not facing any immediate shortage of jet fuel, hence I didn't release any jet fuel yesterday from the minimum stock obligation. That's kept in reserve for if necessary. If necessary, we'll act, but not before it's necessary.
And Steph, what's the latest in terms of fuel for motorists and also the transport and farming industries?
Well, it was yesterday that Chris Bowen made the announcement that Australia would dig into these fuel reserves, and that was to ensure there was enough supply across Australia. While he's insisting we are getting the supply still coming into Australia, there's been an increase in demand, and that's because some people are panic buying. What it means in terms of releasing stock is that there's more fuel essentially to be bought, so an extra 5 days worth of diesel and enough for an extra 6 days of petrol. Today, an announcement as well about how much is in the stock supply. Petrol is up to 37 days, fuel is around 30 for jet fuel, 29 days, and diesel is 30 days of supply. So there is a backup there, Jade, but the question is, how long that can last and if more is needed, depending on what happens overseas.